We are in the midst of the MLB trade deadline. And a lot of trades are going back and forth. Big names. Big talent. Going to amazing organizations. GOP politics, or geopolitical politics, wanted to get in on the action. Britney Griner has just been sentenced to 9.5 years for bringing in actually, from what I hear, less than a gram of cannabis oil into Russia when she was flying in. She had to go to Russia to play these basketball games to make the extra cash so she could live like a baller. So she could live the dream of playing professional basketball while having lots and lots of money. Is that not the dream for all kids? To become a sports icon? And to have the millions and millions of dollars to do what you please with your friends? The kind of money that you can pay to have things covered up about you? Have people change their testimony about certain events? The kind of greatness that absolves you from any kind of crime? The fondness in which people will think of you, well, I know he murdered that person, but he did at one time run 300 yards. I know he got caught, trafficking children, but he was a leading 3-point scorer. Have we not ever dreamed of having that kind of power? And that's all Britney Griner wants, is to make the income her talents are owed. Is that wrong? And maybe she wants the privilege. Maybe she wants the rich privilege to not be prosecuted for such a small crime. Small crime for us, big crime to Russia, apparently. For months now, the United States and Russia have been negotiating this, figuring out, is there a trade that can be made here? This other asset is Victor Bout. Now, Victor Bout is a Russian arms dealer. But this man has the possibility of putting up some numbers. He's a bit of an athlete of his own. When you consider his vast network, let's say associates, customers, clientele, because you gotta understand, he's not just gonna be selling guns again in Russia to fight Ukraine. When you're an arms dealer, you're everywhere. Every battlefield selling to both sides. We're talking South America, Africa. Wherever there is bloodshed to be had, an arms dealer will be there. And apparently he's one of the best. Now, if I had to be conservative in my estimate of what he's capable of, and you think about, how many guns he can sell and how many lives it could affect, I would say no less than 500,000 people could be affected by this. Because remember, I'm talking about multiple war zones here. His 500K versus the average viewing audience of the WNBA, which is 205,000. The math ain't mathin'. And to be honest with you, this is not a good trade, so Britney might have to stay. No, I'm not saying I want her to stay. I want to point that out. I'm just saying we need a more acceptable trade. And Britney Griner, for an arms dealer, ain't it. Because he's going to put up more numbers than her. And who needs that? Haven't women suffered enough? And here's the thing, I'm not 100% opposed though. I think I don't like the trade, but I could find a sliver of hope for it. Once again, we're an optimistic, nihilistic podcast here. We try to find the bright spots. What I will say is this. Whenever a white woman is in this situation, we risk a lot to get her back. We've given up quite a few wild ones to get white women back. We may have to make this trade so we could show that her trade value matters. That her prisoner trade value matters. Because this is a moment where we can make a statement going, hey, we're going to get this black woman out of that country because America cares about its black women. Now, granted, the flip side, 500,000 deaths is a lot. And that's just me guesstimating based on the network he had. So there will be great sacrifice in this choice, but what is America if not great sacrifice on the part of people who don't make the decisions? It made me wonder about my own trade value. I don't think I have much trade value. At the very most, you can get a pipe bomber for me. Maybe someone who was caught jaywalking. Being the host of the #1 show on WRKM is not enough to get real good trade value. Now, I'm not under any falsehood that I should be. But as we spoke about last time, your assassination worth may not be what you think it is. Your prisoner trade worthiness or worth may not be good enough either. But I also wonder, what is a Latina's value in this trade value situation? I think at the very least, if this was a Mexican woman or a Puerto Rican woman or, a South American woman, I think you can get you're not going to get a Pablo Escobar in an equal trade, but you can get a, drug abuser or a low level, drug dealer. I don't know if Latinas have that cachet just yet. We also don't get kidnapped. I like how I'm considering myself a Latina right now. Hey, gender is fluid. Sometimes, we don't get, all the time, we don't get caught in these things. I never really heard of Latin people getting kidnapped. People always bring us back because we're annoying. So I think our trade value isn't high because of that. Now, black man, you're not, they're not giving up anything for him. That's just not going to happen. Puerto Rican man, probably the same. White guy, he's good. They'll trade just about anything they can. Totally fine. Nothing bad will happen there. But I think, while also assessing your assassination worth, you should also be assessing your worth as a prisoner. What do you know about our country? What inside details do you have? I would suggest to you, study as much as you can. Learn things you shouldn't know. Investigate, follow a congressman around, see what he's up to, take some pictures. I think everyone should have some kind of dirt on someone higher than them so they have a prisoner value. Now, if Britney Griner had done that, they would have brought her back immediately. But she doesn't have leverage because the WNBA only averages 205,000 viewers. If they were, and people made the point, well, if she was LeBron, they'd get him back. Well, one, LeBron wouldn't have happened to LeBron. He's too big of a commodity globally. Two, they're right, because if that did happen to LeBron, they would have brought him back immediately. He's a cash cow. No, people were asking, well, how come the WNBA players don't make that much? Well, let me ask you at home, do you watch the WNBA? You don't. Half of you can't even name 5 players on the WNBA in the entire league. I just know Lisa Leslie and Britney Griner. And there's that other one. There's a white one. I don't remember her name. But here's the thing. Women don't even watch the WNBA. So if anything, Britney Griner's plight is kind of a women's issue. And we need to push it that way. Why aren't women watching WNBA? If they did, Britney's cachet would have risen and the trade would have been made, baby. Yeah. I hope she comes back. I hope she's safe. But this trade is a rough one. And listen, someone's got to lose for someone to win. We all know that. Life's about trade-offs. And for the sake of equality, we should be able to risk about 500,000 lives. That's the way I see it. Maybe you have been following, but Britney Griner was captured by the Russians, or arrested by the Russians, for having some hash on her. And we said on this broadcast, and it was a bit of a controversial topic or take, that we did not think her trade value was high. To reiterate, the average WNBA game averages 250,000 viewers. The arms dealer Russia wanted in trading back for Griner is one of the best, and we estimated could affect up to 500,000 lives if released. But we did think it would be going a long way in showing black women that we care. So now we are in a situation where it was just announced that Britney Griner is in a prison colony now. No one knows where this prison colony is, but they do know it is kind of a work labor camp, which some places do have for prisons. I think we have some of that ourselves. We do. Well, Kamala Harris did have prisoners working as firemen to take out, forest fires, and then would bring back prisoners who had already served their sentence back to do it for less than minimum wage. Now, that's a very controversial thing to do, but I understand a death society may never be paid truly. Prison colonies historically are not safe. Typically what happens in a prison colony, kung fu tournaments. That's typically, from my research, kung fu tournaments happen at prison colonies. And we don't know if Britney Griner knows kung fu. So I think she's in terrible danger. I'm all for regular prison. That's fine, but she is a WNBA star. And that should have some kind of celebrity cachet, should it not? I know no one watches it, but she should be treated better. She does have a talent. Maybe not one people care about, but she does have one. And I don't think she can serve that talent in a prison colony. So we might be in a situation where there's two ways out of this. Number one, Operation Get Griner. I am proposing that America get involved. We need to break her out of prison. And the only group that will be able to do it is a group led by Sam Jackson or Viola Davis, with other black action stars, such as Michael J. White, such as Denzel Washington, Will Smith, Wesley Snipes. This is the Anthony Mackie we could throw in there. This is the team that we're going to need to get her back. Denzel's really good at guns, if you've seen The Equalizer, and really good at coming up with little explosions. Wesley Snipes is good with kung fu. He's got a lot of knife training as well. Michael J. White is a kickboxing master. Will Smith's got the charisma, so he can talk his way anywhere. And Anthony Mackie, he's got rap ability. And while, yes, he is Captain America, so I'm pretty good. He's good at shield fighting. But I do feel like he's got the MCU cachet. But I feel like in foreign countries, 8 Mile might be a bigger thing. I also want Carl Weathers on the team. He's a tank. He can get through anybody. We gotta Tropic Thunder this situation. Because we can't have one of our premier athletes, quotations, because I view her as a premier athlete, some of you may not, in a prison camp, in a prison colony camp. That can't happen in the 21st century. It just can't. Because we can't get the military involved because that's an act of war. But if we can get actors involved, it's a humanitarian crusade. There's a second option, because there's always two options to these things in my mind. Shawshank Redemption. Maybe she's got to get herself out. Maybe this is her moment to become a star. Clearly being a WNBA star hasn't done much for her. Maybe escaping the prison colony will do everything for her. The book deals, the TV deal, you know, the documentary series, the eventual movie that comes out. I was talking to the Revolution the other day, and he was saying, what if Lena Waithe plays her in the movie? I'm with it. You know, a Shawshank Redemption of her escaping from a Russian prison. Maybe there's a Russian Morgan Freeman there, but maybe she's got to crawl through the shit, you know. Maybe it's a Space Jam situation. Maybe she and her team, no longest yard. It's her team versus the prison guards. And if she wins, she's free. If she loses, they extend her prison time. And Britney's got to really balance him out. Does she want to be saved by Operation Get Griner? Or does she want to do it on her own to maximize her profits? Because she's going to be 10 times more interesting now that she's part of the Ukraine war now. She's another story in it. That's a much better brand than the WNBA, the Ukraine war. And being part of that does so much more for her. The book deal alone, I'd buy that book. And she details all the work that went on. How did she survive all those days, counting them down on her wall, scribbling on them? Crawling through shit to try to get through the tunnel. Or she's building the prison team. Maybe she finds some good Russian women who can play ball. And she brings them back to the WNBA. And they start beating ass. You know? There's so much that can happen here. The possibilities are endless. And I never thought I would say that about someone going to a prison colony. We're here to provide the analysis for a situation we've been covering for quite some time. And we've become a bit of experts in. Britney Griner is on a plane back to America. Let us take you back a bit so you know what our stance is on this. Stance number one, this is a lopsided trade. This arms dealer we're trading in to get Britney back is called the Merchant of Death. He could lead up to about 500,000 deaths with his work alone. This was a guy who was selling AK-47s to kill DEA agents. So he's good at his job. The average WNBA game has a viewing audience of 250,000 people. And now you would say, is that per game? That must mean that there's a lot of fans. No, those are the same fans jumping from game to game. No growth. So clearly it's a lopsided trade. But I did say that if America wanted to prove it cared about black women, making this trade and showing them their trade value was a huge deal. Huge deal. We now know one black woman's worth 500,000 deaths. Now, the Russians took it up a notch. They put her in a prison colony. And we were not happy about that because typically in island prison colonies, kung fu tournaments. And we were not sure if Britney Griner knew kung fu. So we started Operation Get Griner, where several black actors, Denzel Washington, Will Smith, Anthony Mackie, Michael J. White, Carl Weathers, Viola Davis, Sam Jackson would come together like a Tropic Thunder situation and save her. That was our option if we couldn't do the trade. Our other option in that situation was she Shawshank Redemption's her way out in the hopes of a good Netflix documentary. We laid it out and we said, if you care about black women, you will make this deal. And he did. So in the end, I think we're owed some money. Or at least some credit. So Britney, you're welcome, but send us a piece of that Netflix cash. Because daddy needs it. So now, some of you don't want to hear this. You're going to have to start watching the WNBA. You're going to have to. We made this trade. It's your American duty to watch the WNBA now. Because we cannot let Russia think we don't care now. we made a really big deal about this. If the ratings don't go up, Russia wins. And when you make questionable life decisions, you got to defend those. You got to stand by them, good, bad, and different. Now some are saying, isn't it great she's going home? That's nice. Nice for her. Not nice for the hundreds of thousands who will die because of the merchant of death. They're probably not celebrating at the moment. They probably don't even know they will be on the receiving end of the merchant of death. No one knows when the trigger will be pulled. But we, as a country, have made a decision. But if you're not going to watch the WNBA, you're full of shit. You're full of shit. And I don't want to hear shit. I want to see all those people who were begging for her to come back to now watch the WNBA. Now that we know that one WNBA player is worth 500,000 deaths, we now have a league of, holy shit, hold on. Let's do the numbers here. 144 players. Let's pull out the calculator. Times 500,000 deaths. 72 million deaths. These women are now worth 72 million deaths. If we are not watching the WNBA after today, all season long, and you know what? You're going to have to watch some off-season stuff. Sorry. You're going to have to watch some off-season sports analysis about it. If Stephen A. Smith is not today talking nothing WNBA for the next 24 hours, we don't care enough. I want you to know who's the WNBA team in your city. New York Liberty, let's go. I don't know who's on that team, but I know there's players on that team. Current roster, all right. Rebecca Allen, bro. Crystal Dangerfield. That name is fire. I'm instantly already following her. Stephanie Dolson. Natasha Howard. Sabrina Ionescu from Oregon. Yeah. Maureen Johannes. That's a little thing over the E. Benijah Laney. I think I said that name right. I'm actually kind of impressed. Michaela Onoweri. Dee Richards. Well, I like that. Dee Richards. What else? I like that. It's a cool name. Sammy Wickham. Jocelyn Willoughby. I just had a Wu-Tang fucking flashback. And Han Zhu. The New York Liberty are taking it this year. I have no evidence of that, but I now follow the WNBA. Some of you might be going, Ralph, are you being sarcastic right now? Maybe. I guess you'll just have to watch the podcast to find out.